You guys listen. The house. The house. Everybody is screaming about the cheating. Everybody is screaming about the ghetto comments. Everybody is screaming about Tory Lanez. And not one of these channels is talking about the one detail that flips this entire Klay Thompson and Megan Thee Stallion story upside down. Hold on, baby, let me cook. Because what I'm about to walk you through is going to change the way you read every single photo, every single soft launch, every single look at us in love moment between Klay Thompson and Megan Thee Stallion. And by the end of this video, you're going to be sitting there like, oh. So that's what was happening the whole time. Let's get into it. Per the Daily Mail, and y'all already know I pulled up the receipts. Sources are claiming Klay Thompson was over Megan Thee Stallion long before any cheating scandal hit the timeline. Allegedly, Klay Thompson was tired of the loudness, tired of the ghetto energy, tired of being trotted around like a purse dog at every event Megan Thee Stallion booked. According to that same article, Klay Thompson is private. Klay Thompson is introverted. Klay Thompson is a man who washes a championship ring at home and reads a book while a candle burns. Megan Thee Stallion, on the other hand, is a woman whose entire career is being loud, whose entire brand is hot girl summer, twerk in the kitchen, twerk in the club, twerk on a yacht, twerk on the moon if NASA called. And so the math, on paper, never mattered. But here's the part that nobody is talking about. Hear me out. You guys remember that photo? You remember it. The two hands, the keys, the little heart pose. The internet melted. The blogs cried. Everybody and their mamas said, Megan Thee Stallion finally found her king. Well, sources are now saying that the home behind those keys was bought by Klay Thompson. Not co-signed, not split down the middle. Allegedly, Klay Thompson bought that home for Klay Thompson and Megan Thee Stallion to share during the off-season. And Klay Thompson, in Klay Thompson's mind, was building a sanctuary, a safe space, a nest, a place where the noise of the world finally stopped at the front door and where Megan Thee Stallion would actually be present. Not posting, not booked, not on a stage in Tokyo. Present, in the kitchen, on the couch, eating leftovers, watching a movie, being a partner. And what does the article say happened? Megan Thee Stallion was barely there. Megan Thee Stallion was working. Megan Thee Stallion was flying. Megan Thee Stallion was on tour, on press runs, on red carpets, on planes, on stages, on every continent except the one with Klay Thompson sitting on a sectional waiting. Sources reportedly described Klay Thompson as feeling lonely. Sources reportedly described Klay Thompson as feeling, and I quote, abandoned, 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 in a house Klay Thompson allegedly paid for. A house that was supposed to be the proof of how serious Klay Thompson was. And that, baby girl, is the detail that nobody on this internet is processing correctly. Because the cheating story is the symptom. The empty house is the wound. Now hold on. Let me put a little visual on the screen for you. Picture this. You are Klay Thompson. You have just spent a season with the Mavericks where the shot wasn't falling. We watched it. We have the clip. Cooper Flagg dishes it to Klay Thompson in the corner late fourth quarter. A textbook Klay Thompson three-ball window, and Klay Thompson shoots the ball backwards. Backwards. The same Klay Thompson who is statistically one of the greatest shooters in the history of the league. The same Klay Thompson who has 3 rings, who has 37 and a quarter on the resume, who has been ice in the veins since the day Klay Thompson walked into the league. And suddenly, the form looks off. The mind looks off. The energy looks off. Why? Per the article, because Klay Thompson was in a relationship that was hollowing Klay Thompson out from the inside. A home with no warmth in it. A partner who was never home. A career sliding while the personal life crumbled in silence. That is not a basketball problem. That is a soul problem. And let me say the quiet part out loud. What we're really looking at is a man who tried to build a wife into a woman whose entire job description requires being everywhere except next to him. And listen, this is not me dragging Megan Thee Stallion's hustle. Megan Thee Stallion's hustle is legendary. The grind is the grind. The bag is the bag. But there is a difference between getting the bag and getting the marriage. Those are 2 different jobs. And Megan Thee Stallion, allegedly, picked the job that paid faster. While Klay Thompson allegedly picked the job that paid forever. And those two job descriptions cannot share one address. They just can't. The mortgage might be one signature, but the lifestyle is two different countries. And no postage stamp in the world can carry a relationship across that border every single weekend. Now, let's get to the spicy part. The part that, when I read it, made my whole face do a thing. According to the same Daily Mail article, Klay Thompson allegedly said that Megan Thee Stallion will be quiet about Tory Lanez. Quiet about Tory Lanez. You know how loud that sentence is? You know how much that one line vibrates? Because for years, Megan Thee Stallion has been on record, on camera, on documentary, on stage, on the witness stand, telling the world a very specific story about Tory Lanez. And now we are getting a leak from inside the bedroom of a different relationship, saying that behind closed doors, the conversation about Tory Lanez sounded different. Y'all hear me? It sounded different. And if that is true, oh, that is not just gossip. That is allegedly a very specific kind of receipt. A receipt with a court attached to it. A receipt with an appeal attached to it. A receipt that, in the wrong courtroom, has consequences that ripple across years of public record and could absolutely reopen conversations nobody in either camp wants reopened. I'm not saying anything is provable. I'm not the lawyer. I'm not the judge. I'm not in the deposition. But I'm the girl who reads articles for a living, and when a partner allegedly says, "You will be quiet about that man," after a breakup, the antennas go up. Both antennas. All antennas. Including the ones on my grandmama's roof. Because that means there was something to be quiet about, in somebody's opinion. And that is the open loop nobody is closing. That is the story underneath the story. That is the rabbit hole behind the rabbit hole. And the deeper you stare at it, the more the floor under this whole narrative starts to wobble. Now, let me pump the brakes for a second, because I want to be fair and I want to be honest, and I want to look at this from every angle, the way you would want a friend to look at your situation. Could Klay Thompson be a man who got mad after a public breakup and started spilling tea that should have stayed in the cabinet? Absolutely. Men do that. Men have always done that. The post-breakup leak is one of the oldest plays in the book. Could the Daily Mail sources be people in Klay Thompson's camp running PR, trying to flip the narrative from Klay Thompson cheated to Klay Thompson endured? Yeah, that happens. That is a chess move. Could Megan Thee Stallion's camp have already been preparing a counter-narrative? You already know the answer. Of course. Welcome to celebrity warfare. Everybody got a publicist. Everybody got a writer. Everybody got a friend with a burner. Everybody got a journalist on a Christmas card list. But here's the thing. Even if you strip the spin out, even if you take both sides at half volume, the skeleton of the story still stands. The house was bought. The home stayed empty. The career took a nosedive. The breakup hit. And then the alleged comment about Tory Lanez slipped out. That skeleton, my friends, is not a rumor. That skeleton is a timeline. And timelines do not lie the way people do. Timelines just sit there, dates and dates and dates, daring you to be brave enough to actually read them in order. Now, let me play another little hypothetical game. The kind of game we love to play on this channel. Imagine, for a moment, you are Megan Thee Stallion. You have just survived one of the most public, most traumatic, most polarizing court cases in modern hip-hop. You have been picked apart, examined, doubted, defended, mocked, memed, celebrated, and crucified, sometimes all in the same week. You finally meet Klay Thompson, a man who, in the public imagination, reads like the cleanest possible reset button. A three-time champion, a quiet professional, a man with no scandal attached to the name. A man whose Wikipedia page is basketball stats and a boat. And in your mind, Megan Thee Stallion, this is the rebrand. This is the soft launch in a wifedom. This is the photo with the keys, the hands, the heart. Because Megan Thee Stallion is in the 30s now. And the math of being a woman in this industry past 30 without a ring on the finger is a math nobody wants to teach, but everybody has to learn the hard way under stadium lights. But here is the part Megan Thee Stallion allegedly forgot. Klay Thompson is not a backdrop. Klay Thompson is not a prop. Klay Thompson is not a husband-shaped sticker you slap on top of an image problem. Klay Thompson is a whole-grown man with a whole-grown nervous system, with a whole-grown set of expectations. And when Klay Thompson bought that house, in Klay Thompson's mind, Klay Thompson was not buying a rebrand. Klay Thompson was buying a future. And then Klay Thompson watched that future stay empty room after room after room. And that, my friends, is where the bitterness allegedly grows. Slowly, quietly, in the silence of a hallway with no footsteps in it. In a kitchen where the only thing humming is the refrigerator. In a bedroom where the pillow on the other side stays cold for 6 straight nights. And the 7th night, somebody finally cracks. Now, you guys listen. Let me show you something. The day after this breakup hits the timeline, what does the internet see Megan Thee Stallion doing? Twerking, posting, filming, going live, working, right back to the brand, right back to the bag, right back to the algorithm. And listen, I will say it again so the women in the back hear me. That is not a crime. That is not a moral failing. That is a job. Hot girl Megan Thee Stallion is a brand worth tens of millions of dollars. And the brand gets fed every day or the brand dies. But that very behavior, that very same brand feeding, that very same I am unbothered, I am hot, I am booked, is also the receipt Klay Thompson was probably reading the whole time. Because if the breakup didn't slow Megan Thee Stallion down for even one afternoon, what do you think the relationship looked like from the inside? Hear me out. A woman who can bounce that fast wasn't tethered that deep. A man who buys a house wanted to be tethered deep. 2 different gravities. And when 2 different gravities try to share one bedroom, baby, somebody's going to be floating and somebody's going to be falling and ain't nobody going to be sleeping. And when nobody is sleeping in a relationship, that is when the text gets sent that shouldn't get sent. That is when the DMs get opened that shouldn't get opened. That is when the cheating story everybody is screaming about starts to write its first chapter in private with nobody watching. And while we are on it, let's talk about that other name that keeps echoing through the back of this story like a ghost. Party Next Door. Y'all remember that chapter? Because before Klay Thompson, before the basketball offseason, before the hard hands and the house keys, there was a moment where Party Next Door and Megan Thee Stallion were in proximity. And then suddenly, Party Next Door wasn't. And the timing of Party Next Door stepping back lined up suspiciously with the public narrative around Tory Lanez tilting. And again, I'm not the judge, I'm not the courtroom, I am the channel. But when a pattern shows up 3 different times with 3 different men, you stop calling it coincidence and you start calling it pattern. And patterns, my loves, are how stories like this get cracked open from the inside. So now you stack the pieces. The empty house, the career slipping, the ghetto complaints, the loneliness leak, the Tory Lanez whisper, the Party Next Door exit, the post-breakup twerk marathon. And what do you get? You don't get a love story. You don't even get a scandal. You get a case file. A case file with 2 famous people on the cover and a whole lot of unanswered questions inside, stapled together by a publicist who is praying you do not read past page 2. Now let me get into what I personally think is going to happen next, because we are not just a gossip channel. We are a what's the next move channel. Watch what Klay Thompson does this offseason. Watch the gym footage. Watch the form. Watch the workouts. Because if the Daily Mail sources are even half right, and Klay Thompson really did feel hollowed out by the relationship, then this summer is going to be the comeback summer. The redemption summer. The I am a man with my piece back summer. I think Klay Thompson is going to come in next season with the jumper looking like the 2015 Klay Thompson again. The catch and shoot looking lethal. The mid-range pull-up looking surgical. And every analyst is going to act surprised. But you and me, we won't be surprised because we listened to this video. We know what happens to a shooter when the shooter finally gets quiet in the chest again. Peace makes shots fall. Chaos makes shots clank. That is not basketball analysis. That is biology. And watch what Megan Thee Stallion does too. Because the next album, the next single, the next visual is going to have a Klay Thompson chapter buried in it somewhere. A bar, a line, a look, a wardrobe choice, a blue and yellow color story. Something. Because that is how this industry processes pain. Megan Thee Stallion turns pain into product. So expect a track. Expect a tasteful jab. Expect a song that does not name Klay Thompson, but that everybody on Black Twitter immediately knows is about Klay Thompson. That is the cycle. That is the game. That is the way the engine runs. But here's the bigger question, and This is the question I want y'all to actually wrestle with in the comments. Is the lesson here about Klay Thompson? Or is the lesson here about all the quiet men who marry loud women and then act surprised when the volume doesn't lower? Because Klay Thompson, allegedly, knew what Megan Thee Stallion was. Megan Thee Stallion did not switch. Megan Thee Stallion did not lie about the brand. Megan Thee Stallion has been loud since day one. And Klay Thompson, allegedly, bought the house anyway. So is Klay Thompson the victim of a mismatch or the architect of one? Because there's a version of this story where Klay Thompson tried to bend a hurricane into a candle. And every time a man tries to bend a hurricane into a candle, the man ends up wet and the hurricane ends up exhausted. That is not love. That is engineering. And engineering somebody into a version of themselves they never agreed to be is its own form of disrespect, even when the engineer is quiet and polite about it. So before we crown Klay Thompson the saint and Megan Thee Stallion the villain, let's at least be honest about the contract. The contract was always loud. Klay Thompson signed it. And then Klay Thompson, allegedly, got mad at the loudness afterward. That is on Klay Thompson, too. A grown man with a calculator should have done the math before purchasing the property. The numbers were always on the table. The brand was always public. The receipts were always there. Now flip the coin. Megan Thee Stallion, allegedly, took an introverted private champion and used the house as a soft launch backdrop. Megan Thee Stallion, allegedly, leaned on Klay Thompson's cleanness to rinse off some of Megan Thee Stallion's own narrative. And if any of that is true, even a little, that is a use. That is not a love. That is utility. And utility relationships always expire the second one party stops getting value. The breakup wasn't sudden. The breakup was scheduled. The breakup was on the calendar from the day the keys hit the photo. So when you see Megan Thee Stallion back in a thong, on a stage, dripping water on a verse 2 days after the news drops, do not be shocked. The job never stopped. The relationship was a season of the brand. Klay Thompson was a guest star. The show goes on. And when you see Klay Thompson, weeks from now, posting a workout clip caption with one word and a flame emoji, do not be shocked either. Klay Thompson was a guest star too. Megan Thee Stallion's show goes on. Klay Thompson's show goes on. And the house, allegedly, will be quietly sold to a tech founder who doesn't know what happened in the bedroom, but will absolutely feel the energy in the hallway and tell the realtor, something is off in here. Can we restage it? Y'all, I told you the angle would be different. I told you nobody was reading this story right. While everybody was screaming ghetto, 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 I was sitting here looking at the floor plan of a house in the off-season and saying, that is the murder weapon. That is where the relationship died. Not in a club, not in a DM, not on a tour bus, in a kitchen with no music playing, in a living room with 2 televisions and 1 heartbeat, in a driveway with 1 car parked and 1 car always traveling, in a closet with 2 sides, 1 side full and 1 side empty for 9 months straight, in a refrigerator with takeout boxes labeled by hand because the only person eating in that house was the man who bought it. That is where Klay Thompson's heart cracked. Not on the court, not on the tour, not on the timeline. In the dishwasher, baby. In a dishwasher full of 1 plate, 1 fork, 1 glass every single night for an entire off-season. Listen, listen, listen. Before you go, I need 3 things from you, and I'm not asking you twice. Number 1, drop your unfiltered, ungovernable, full-volume opinion in the comments. Did Klay Thompson dodge a bullet, or did Klay Thompson buy a house and then act surprised when the hurricane refused to be a candle? Number 2, go pull up that old soft launch photo with the keys and the hard hands and look at it again with what you just heard. I promise you, the photo looks like a different photo now. Number 3, keep your eyes on Tory Lanez appeal calendar. Because if Klay Thompson really did say what the Daily Mail says Klay Thompson said, the next hearing might get a whole lot more interesting than anybody is ready for. And number 4, the bonus one, bookmark this video. Because the next time Klay Thompson hits a game winner and Megan Thee Stallion drops a single in the same week, I want you to come back here and remember who told you first. I'll be live later on with even more because there's a second leak I'm hearing on the side that I cannot say out loud yet. But baby, when I can, y'all are going to need a seat a snack, and a non-disclosure agreement. Until then, lock in, tap that subscribe, share this with the one friend who keeps defending the wrong celebrity in every group chat. Post this in the family chat your auntie keeps spreading misinformation in. And remember the golden rule of this entire channel. The loudest story on the timeline is almost never the truest one. The truest version is always hiding inside the smallest, quietest detail that everybody scrolled right past on the first read. Stay sharp, stay nosy, stay locked, stay tuned for next drop. Talk to y'all later. Bye.